3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash, and I wanted to do a quick video. And I know right now Eric Breen's making some comment. He's typing right now in the chat about some joke about my videos being too long. About Hawkman. And, well, first of all, this is a missed opportunity. This is Sky Tyrant. This could have been called Sky Tyrant, but instead it's Hawkman the Infected, because we're not creative at DC Editorial. We don't know how to do creative things, just muck things. So they got these cool covers that they're doing, which I can't show you on the video, but imagine it's got like I think it's called acetate. It's like a clear plastic cover where part of the art is painted on the cover, and then the background portions, if you see like the negative space, that's all clear. And if you lift it up, that part's painted on the comic, and underneath, the illustration is covering or partially covering up something else. And so you can lift it up and you'll see the actual Hawkman title and things like that. So what they could have done is done Sky Tyrant on the plastic part, and it's like overlaying, and you can see behind it the Hawkman logo, but it's only just enough to barely make out that it's being covered, and then the Sky Tyrant part is predominant. So you look at it and go, oh, it looks like a Hawkman cover with the name, like they did with the Justice League books, where they would do Legion of Doom and they would write over the Justice League. They could have done that as a perfect opportunity. Totally missed here. Use the same font, right? Used dumb names like Hawkman the Infected. You have some books it's like hard to know what to do with it. You're like, what should we? Okay, I get it. It's tough, but this is Sky Tyrant. I mean, they even say here on the first page, which starts off crashing to the ground. Boom. I'll murder every one of you. Wrong, Sky Tyrant. There you go. You know his name right here on page 1. Right? So the reason I wanted to cover this book, real quick, if you're listening before you tune out, there's been several of my friends or peers or whatever online who have jumped on the Hawkman bandwagon like myself. We've been big fans of Robert Venditti. We love it. And there's been a few of them. I'm going to do a couple name drops now, like Wes from Thinking Critical, fellow comic aficionados, Lance, I think Real Comic Stacks. I don't want to speak for anyone, but I believe I remember hearing some comments from several individuals that they were disappointed in the direction that Hawkman was going. And they didn't like this idea. It's like, look, Hawkman was this great inspirational character of hope, and it's just becoming like the shit DC crap and being infected. They just didn't like it. I can kind of understand that. I'm a little bit personally more open to the idea of radical change ideas and stories and exploring things. Not everyone wants that. But I got to tell you right from the get-go, this is not the book some people thought it was going to be. This is not Hawkman just being evil, right? Robert Venditti explores the history of Sky Tyrant. And so here we start off, this story is actually on Earth-3. Oh, so if you're not familiar, Earth-3 is the sort of reverse Earth. It's like the mirror universe DC, where the heroes are the good guys and the villains are the bad guys. Sort of, like, so the Justice League is called the Syndicate, the villain, I forget what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. People right now, Eric's face palming. I dropped the name. Anyways, that's the Earth-3. It's Brian Michael Bendis took Superboy there to get ruined not too long ago in Superman books. So, and I still maintain the way to fix Superboy is to say that this current Superboy is actually Earth-3 Superboy, and real Jonathan Kent is trapped in Earth-3 still. How's it I can think of these stories, but you pay people like Brian Michael Bendis tons of money to just shit the bed constantly. Anyways, you imagine the amazing story you figure out. My boy, Superman's like, my boy is still stuck there. And he's like, I gotta say, be a great father-son story. Epic proportions. Oh, And I would get Robert Venditti to pen it if I were DC editor. Anyways, back to Hawkman. So if you understand the Hawkman story, and I'm going to spoil some of his past, I really urge you to read the Hawkman 1 through 12. The first trade is out. It only covers up to issue 6 because DC, and again, publisher Dan Didio doesn't know how to do his job, because the first story is 7 issues. So when you read up to issue 6, you're basically getting, it stops right as you're about to get to the final act. And this pause. And so I've had people read it and go, Ash, it's not as good as you said it was. And I'm like, well, it's because you didn't get to read the end. It's like, go read a novel and stop in the last 50 pages and just stop reading it and assess how good the book is. That's kind of how I say. Anyways, so issue number 7 is very important. And then issues 8 through 12 are sort of like the big grand finale. It's like the Return of the Jedi, if you will, where you just get to cut loose, have the big adventure, and it's great. And in that story, you learn the definitive origin of Hawkman. And we already knew that Hawkman reincarnated over time, right? He's had past lives, and that was something that was told. But what Venditti did that was genius was explain that Hawkman didn't reincarnate over time. He reincarnated over space and time. So we got to learn, for instance, that there was a Kryptonian version of Hawkman. And it wasn't Hawkman. He was Qatar I forget. It had like a Kryptonian sounding name, like it's Qatar All. Anyway, they always have a play off of those names. And so he also introduced the idea of why he's reincarnating over space and time as well, that's something I don't even need to talk about. You can enjoy that yourself. There's no reason to spoil that. But there's a definitive reason. And who Hawkman is, I do have to spoil, is a terrible person, or at least Qatar Hall, the original name. He's the original Deathbringer. And he's a bad dude. He's killed millions and potentially billions, who knows, people. Really bad guy. He's like Darth Vader, essentially, or worse. But he has a redemptive moment. And that's part of the whole story of Hawkman. Why he reincarnates over space and time is so he can redeem himself. He can't stop reincarnating until he's done more good to weigh out the bad. He has to save more lives than he's caused their deaths. And it's not just a penance, this is this thing. This is a willing thing that Carter Hall took upon himself, and there was a third-party force that gave him the blessing / curse, whatever you want to look at it, of the reincarnation. Like, Qatar Hall's like, I'm going to do good, and I'm going to redeem myself. He doesn't believe that makes him great or anything. He's just, I need to do this. So anyways, you can assess. Venditti tells the story. Anyway, I'm so in the weeds now. So people did not like this idea of, he's Sky Tyrant now and he's evil and da-da-da-da-da. But here's the beauty, and I'm going to spoil this book, is we learn through this fight, first of all, with who are these guys? I forget they're called. The Justice Society All-Stars have finally beaten you. Okay, so this is the evil Justice Society, I guess. So they're fighting him, and maybe they're good Justice. I'm getting confused by the names. Okay, so these are villains because it's Shadow Sheriff instead of Shadow Thief. Yeah. Okay, so they fight the evil version Earth-3 Hawkman, who's Sky Tyrant, and they beat him with stuff. And it's like he's defeated. He's like, Sky Tyrant will return. Well, here's the thing that I think is awesome, that makes all this sense. It's not just this random thing of Hawkman being infected or whatever. Hawkman reincarnates over space and time. The lives across the multiverse are all connected. He reincarnates over the multiverses. Sky Tyrant was one of his past lives, and vice versa. The past lives of Hawkman are Sky Tyrant's past lives. And so you see in this book, the spirit of Carter Hall, I get these names all mixed up. He's our Hawkman. He's like, where did you come from? Who are you? Me? I'm the angel of death. Wait. And he swings, but of course he's intangible. And they both say it together. What happened? Am I? And then we see, I get it. Get what? Tell me. You aren't here, Carter. I'm not. You're here. And he's pointing to his head. So there's a physical incarnation. They're sharing the same body. This is Carter Hall, but it's also Sky Tyrant because the persona is taking over. The infection apparently seemed to allow the past life, the Earth-3 version of Carter Hall, to take predominance. But our hero is still inside. And he's just an evil, vindictive murderer. But what's great is this isn't our hero. You're not watching our Carter Hall go murder people. You're watching Earth-3 evil Carter Hall. And the real Carter Hall is there, and he's trying to fight him. And so this Sky Tyrant is like, look, I'm just going to go murder this commercial airliner of people. And he just murders to murder. And then see, inside the will of our hero, Carter Hall, is stopping him. And even though he's not real, it's inside his mind, and it's causing him to, not be able to do. And it's the battle of wills, and it's great. I was so impressed by this, how this was going to be spun. I was like, I just don't want to see an infected Hawkman that runs around and someone has to beat up, Sky Tyrant and cure him and go, okay, you're good now. I was really worried, and I can see a lot of other people maybe being worried about that too. This is our hero being able to fight this. And I was like, oh, that's what it needs to be. The book is called Hawkman. It's not called Batman Saves the Day, right? This is the things I critiqued in Bendis books, where constantly Superman is being one-upped by another person. Bendis never let Superman ever be the hero in his own book. Going back to Man of Steel, through every Superman issue, through every Action Comics issue, someone else is the hero of the book. Superman is just ultimately a bystander every single time. And it was unacceptable in Man of Steel, and it's infuriating every time since. But here in Hawkman, we get to see Carter Hall being able to still fight this thing off. And Sky Tyrant is a Hawkman villain because of it, and it's great. There should be no problem with Hawkman having a villain like Sky Tyrant. And spoiler at the end, Hawkwoman shows up, and that's where we get left off. And if you don't know much about Hawkman lore, and I'm just learning a lot myself, one of the great things about Hawkman, I believe, and I'm not really big on the whole romantic parts of comics. I don't really like relationships too much in comics. I made an exception for Peter Parker, Mary Jane, because it was a big, big deal that built up over decades. Superman, Lois Lane, Peter Tomasi sold me on that with him and having the kid. Jonathan Kent cemented that. And then the whole coming up with the story of the pre-Flashpoint Superman and how they're living in secret and they're not really Superman. They're just having a life, a family life. All of that, it was beautiful. There's some exceptions. Other times I feel like it's just forced. Like this Catwoman Batman thing I feel is forced. Anyways, what I love about this is, and if you read the Hawkman 1 through 12, you'll get an origin story and then explains like this woman, which I'm assuming is ultimately the same woman that what Hawkgirl is. I don't know what the difference between her and Hawkgirl is. But anyways, Hawkman has a partner, which is Hawkgirl, or I thought it was Hawkwoman. One of the two. Again, it's the identity part I'm a little sketchy on. her name's like Shiara. She dates back all the way to the beginnings, eons ago when Carter Hall started reincarnating and stopped being a Doombringer. She was the one who was instrumental in bringing him back. She was kind of his Luke Skywalker to his Darth Vader, that sort of like pulled him and made him see the light. And they both reincarnate over time, and they have like a love story, and throughout their lives they're destined to meet each other, and then eventually they live their lives and die and things happen, and then their new they constantly, and I think it's a very romantic story that you can have. It's one of the beautiful things I absolutely loved, to be honest, about that movie that's far underappreciated. Starts with an H. Oh, jeez. The Will Smith Hancock. Hancock is a beautiful film. I know some people go, but if watch it, there's a beautiful love story in there. Some people go, oh, love story, schmove story. Okay, that's fine. If that's not your thing, but it's a similar type thing. They always find each other. And this makes me have hope because Venditti hasn't used that in his story yet, except in the origin. Anyways, I'm very excited. The art is not my favorite. You can see for yourself. I don't really need to tell you about the art. I just wanted to really talk about this subject matter in this book. This is the first real book of the Sky Tyrant storyline, so there's a lot more. I haven't really spoiled anything except the lead-in. So if you are one of those people who are like, I'm just not going to get it. I'm not going to continue Hawkman with this. This is not my cup of tea. I urge you to reconsider. It's not what you thought. Trust in Venditti. If you like what he's been doing in the past, he's not going to let you down. I don't think. He's not letting me down. I really like this. It's good. And hashtag read Hawkman. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.